start with 29th shloka today. Please repeat. Prakritir guna sammudha. Prakritir guna
प्रकृतिर्गुणसम्मूढा
sajjante guna karmashu.
सज्जन्ते गुणकर्मसु
Tan akritsna vido mandan.
तान् कृत्स्नविदो मन्दान्
Krit kritsna vinna vichalayet.
कृत्स्नविन्न विचालयेत्.
Okay, any volunteers who are in a position to read?
I can read.
Please go ahead.
Translation. Bewildered by the modes of material nature, the ignorant fully engage themselves in material activities and become attached. But the wise should not unsettle them, although these duties are inferior due to the performer's lack of knowledge. Purport. Persons who are unknowledgeable falsely identify with gross material consciousness and are full of material designations. This body is a gift of the material nature, and one who is too much attached to the bodily consciousness is called manda, or a lazy person without understanding of spirit soul. Ignorant men think of the body as the self. They accept bodily connections with others as kinsmanship. The land in which the body is obtained is their object of worship, and they consider the formalities of religious rituals to be ends in themselves. Social work, nationalism, and altruism are some of the activities for such materially designated persons. Under the spell of such designations, they are always busy in the material field. For them, spiritual realization is a myth, and so they are not interested. Those who are enlightened in spiritual life, however, should not try to agitate such materially engrossed persons. Better to prosecute one's own spiritual activities silently. Such bewildered persons may be engaged in such primary moral principles of life as nonviolence and similar materially benevolent work. Men who are ignorant cannot appreciate activities in Krishna consciousness, and therefore Lord Krishna advises us not to disturb them and simply waste valuable time. But the devotees of the Lord are more kind than the Lord because they understand the purpose of the Lord. Consequently, they undertake all kinds of risks, even to the point of approaching ignorant men to try to engage them in the acts of Krishna consciousness, which are absolutely necessary for the human being. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for reading. Okay, so previous section in this particular chapter started by Arjuna speaking his doubt. He wanted to clarify whether Krishna really wants him to fight or not. And Krishna tells Arjuna that fighting is basically to be done in a consciousness which is that of detachment. And in that mood, one has to act. One has to um, do the activities as an offering to Lord Vishnu, which is the Yagya. 3.9, Krishna mentions that. And then he gives example of even um a very basic necessity of eating, how that can be as a yagya. And then he mentions how different um, personalities he named King Janak, and then he gave his own example that how they are dedicated in doing their duties not only for the benefit of other people and for um, really being in a situation where they have to do it, but because setting a standard. Even if they were not to do these things, still it won't be affecting much, because Krishna, he's the Supreme Lord, so he can take care of everything without having to do it. And King Janak, he was great personality, great king. He was very much dedicated to dharma, and he may not necessarily had to do the activities which he did, but he did it because setting a standard for other people to follow. And Krishna is mentioning to Arjun that how these different activities are to be performed um, in the right consciousness, in the right mood. And one should not be thinking that he is the doer. Because of false ego, this mentality may come that I am the one who is doer, but anything which is happening or taking place, there are so many factors involved. There are so many factors because of which Arjuna landed up in the situation where he has to fight. And similarly, in our life, there are so many factors which have put us in a particular position. And the living entity or the jiva can actually just desire and do a small part of what they need to do, and rest, it is the prakriti, the modes of nature, the supreme lord who is the sanctioner. um, all these factors have to fall in for a particular action to happen. In this particular shloka, Krishna is mentioning that people in general are influenced by these modes of material nature, and those who are not very well spiritually oriented and spiritually trained, they are ignorant and they engage in material activities and get attached. So when somebody is attached, um, and another spiritually evolved person is trying to help, how they help is by letting them be continuing their duty, but adding spirituality to that, rather than totally unsettling them and telling them, hey, leave this and do something else. That is not what Krishna is recommending to Arjun. So similarly, Krishna is telling Arjun in his situation, it is not that he has to leave and do something else and get unsettled. No, you have to do what is your duty, but in the right consciousness. You have to understand it's not for enjoyment, but it is for dharma. So Prabhupada here is mentioning that yes, in the world, so many people are engaged in so many activities. Usually they are doing for sensual enjoyment, or for sense gratificatory activities, or they may be doing it for some sort of material reason or mission, and they're not so much guided by spiritual reasons. However, um, when a spiritually minded person get in touch with them, a spiritually minded person always try to help them so that their spiritual life also gets uplifted. They help which the people are needing materially, that is very important, but the spiritual aspect very often gets neglected and ignored by the masses. And therefore, spiritualist tends to focus on that in his or her life, as well as share with it with others. Now when one shares, it does comes with a risk, because when you share, then your ideas and their ideas may or may not match, and they may start judging, or different things may come, but that's a risk. And a spiritualist person, he or she is wanting to do good to others. They have noticed how their life has got benefited by Bhagavad Gita, by chanting, by Bhagavatam, by these books, this philosophy, this process. So why not others also get benefited? So like that, um, he or she proposes, helps, and guides others, and whoever can take benefit of it, they are the ones who really transform their lives. But there is a risk which he or she takes. So that's the point which Prabhupada is mentioning here. And those who are giving this particular science or offering this science have to also be cautious about the situation in which different people may be. And like Narad Muni was an excellent guru. He everybody knows the story of how Balmiki was such a cruel hunter in the past, and Narad did not ask him to chant Vedic mantras, but gave him a mantra which was very easy, Mara. He could not speak Ram or other mantras, but he could speak Mara because that was very close to his profession. And then when he kept speaking Mara, 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 it became Ram. And that Ram mantra purified his consciousness and transformed him from a hunter to a great saint. So, like this, we can see that this process is very powerful, and those who are expert, they are able to guide um, a particular student in a way which is best for that student. So this way we can see everybody is unique, and everybody may need personal guidance, and that's why we have to approach Bhagavad Gita and these books personally, and also have a personal mentor who can guide us. Okay. Anybody has any questions, comments, any points on this? Okay, we'll go to the next shloka. 330. This is a very important shloka and has a lot of practical application as well. So let's recite it and discuss it. Mai sarvani karmani
मयि सर्वाणि कर्माणि
sanyasya chetasa
सन्न्यास्याध्यात्मचेतसा
nirashir nirmamo bhutva
निराशीर्निर्ममो भूत्वा
yudhyasva vigata jvara.
युद्धस्व द्विगतज्वरा.
Any volunteers who would like to read translation and purpose?
I can read.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Therefore, O Arjuna, surrendering all your works unto me with full knowledge of me, without desires for profit, with no claims to proprietorship, and free from lethargy, fight. Purport by His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Right.
Okay. This verse clearly indicates the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita. The Lord instructs that one has to become fully Krishna conscious to discharge duties, as if in military discipline. Such an injunction may make things a little difficult. Nevertheless, duties must be carried out with dependence on Krishna, because that is the constitutional position of the living entity. The living entity cannot be happy independent of the cooperation of the Supreme Lord, because the eternal constitutional position of the living entity is to become subordinate to the desires of the Lord. Arjuna was therefore ordered by Sri Krishna to fight as if the Lord were his military commander. One has to sacrifice everything for the goodwill of the Supreme Lord, and at the same time discharge prescribed duties without claiming proprietorship. Arjuna did not have to consider the order of the Lord, he had only to execute his order. The Supreme Lord is the soul of all souls. Therefore, who depends solely and wholly on the Supreme Soul without personal consideration, or in other words, one who is fully Krishna conscious, is called Adhyatma Chetas. Nirashi means one that has to act on the order of the master but should not expect fruitive results. The cashier may count millions of dollars for his employer and join the conference. Join the conference. Millions of dollars for his employer, but he does not claim a cent for himself. Similarly, one has to realize that nothing in the world belongs to any individual person, but that everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. That is the real purport of Mai or unto me. And when one acts in such Krishna consciousness, certainly he does not claim proprietorship over anything. The consciousness is called nirmama, or nothing is mine. And if there is any reluctance to execute such a stern order which is without consideration of so called kinsmen in the bodily relationship, that reluctance should be thrown off. In this way, one may become a Vigata Jwara, or without feverish mentality or lethargy. Everyone, according to his quality and position, has a particular type of work to discharge, and all such duties may be discharged in Krishna consciousness as described above. That will lead one to the path of liberation.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you so much for reading. Okay, this shloka 3.30, very important shloka. So many times people, when you talk to them and you say Bhagavad Gita, people will say, okay, yeah, Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita means karm kiye ja phal ki chitta mat kar. This is a common thing people will say. So people know Bhagavad Gita encourages you to work, but they don't really know how to do the work. In this particular shloka, Krishna tells how he is telling Arjuna to work. So in Arjuna's situation, he's a warrior, he's a soldier, he's in the general actually, and he is about to fight. So in what consciousness he has to fight? So that is what Krishna says. Not just work, or some people say work is worship. How, what kind of work, in what consciousness? This is the real kind of work which can be equated to karma yoga, the process of connecting with the Supreme Lord. And then one can make an argument that it could be called worship. Otherwise, any kind of work, even a thief is working. So is that worship? Even a killer or a murderer is working. Is that worship? So what exactly it is given here. So surrendering all work onto me. Krishna is directly now talking about how Arjuna has to surrender full knowledge of me. So he's saying that Arjun must have knowledge about Krishna and about the science which is being given by Krishna, without desires for profit and no claims for proprietorship, free from lethargy, fight. So we see the Sanskrit here, Sannyasya chetasa. How one's consciousness should be, it should be like a sannyasi, like a detached person. So when you're working, you're doing your work, this is the consciousness to imbibe. If we are attached to comfort, many times we will not get success. Those who are actually successful, they don't look for comfort, they come out of the comfort zone and they focus on what needs to be done. So that consciousness is sannyasya chetasa, consciousness of being detached from comfort, detached also from profit and loss, desire for profit and loss, for ownership. All these are one's consciousness, which is actually making one susceptible to um, get weak, emotionally weak, to get distracted from the path. But Arjuna, he doesn't need to get distracted. Like when we see great personalities who are successful in any field, like for example here Arjun, he was successful warrior, but how did he get there? He did a lot of practice. Even at night, Arjuna would be practicing. He will practice whatever his guru told him till he mastered it. And that's why he was successful. And we see in this day and age also, um, those who are very focused, dedicated, hardworking, who put. They have to have this consciousness of coming out of the comfort zone. They have to have this consciousness of being detached from what is my situation. Many times people may be, so here's another word, Vigata Jwara. Jwara means like fever, but also means lethargy. Here Prabhupada writes, Vigata Jwara without feverish mentality or lethargy. So one may get affected by bodily restrictions. One may have some injury or some limitation, and then that person may give an excuse, hey, I can't do this because of this. But those who feel like this has to be done, this needs to be done, they don't give an excuse. They just do it. They know this is to be done, and then they, if it's a priority for them, they will be able to do it. So I was telling the example of Arjun, how he was practicing. We see similar consciousness of many of the great successful athletes. If you take, any of the sports, let's say Sachin Tendulkar or Virat Kohli, they practice so much. For every shot to master it over there in the match, they had to practice it hundreds of times. Similarly, any of the other sportsmen, like basketball player Michael Jordan is famous, and he practiced so much before he became Michael Jordan, and even after becoming Michael Jordan. Great boxer Muhammad Ali, he practiced so much. So one has to come out of the comfort zone, has to focus, dedicate himself, and then one can really be able to have this consciousness of um, focusing on the karma. But all these people were doing it because of some other material reason. This can, Arjuna on the other hand, is being encouraged here to do it for spiritual reason. What is the spiritual reason? Full consciousness of me, surrendering all your works onto me. This is the spiritual consciousness, because the spirit is completely blissful. And then when one is in this consciousness, one doesn't get affected by material anxieties, whether I will really get success or not, whether I'll be, no. Why? Because the only thing which you have to do is see in what consciousness you are doing your duty, and do your duty. If you are in this consciousness, that is success. Whether the Arjuna wins or whether he loses, whether he is profitable or is he in loss, doesn't matter. If he's in this consciousness, he's profitable, he is a winner, even if the world sees that he lost the battle. That is how Krishna is encouraging Arjuna to be in this consciousness. Prabhupada's purport is specifying here that this clearly indicates the purpose of the Gita. This is how Arjuna should conduct himself, and this is how each one of us should get inspiration of how we can conduct ourselves. Otherwise, mind is very, very powerful and forceful. Mind will not let us be peaceful, whatever situation we may be. If we are doing good, then we'll be affected by pride. You remember last time we discussed this shloka, Prakriti kriyamanani gune karmani sarvasha ahankar vimudhata kartaham iti manyate. That because of false ego, one thinks himself as a doer, and when one thinks himself as a doer and things become very good, then one is affected by pride. And when things go very bad and one thinks I am the doer, then one gets depressed. So it's both ways, it can affect our mind and our consciousness and can affect us negatively. On the other hand, if one is understanding that, okay, I am just the part of the equation and so many other factors play a role, and I am also a role, let's try at my level, but I cannot guarantee this is how the result is going to be, and neither I should sweat on on what the result is going to be. I must focus on doing my duty in the right consciousness. And then there is a saying, do your best and leave the rest. Do your best and leave the rest. So do your best till your exam is there. Once you have given the exam, then leave the rest on Krishna. So this is how one can stay in the right consciousness, which is recommended by Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada is specifying here, Supreme Lord is the soul of all souls, therefore one who depends solely and wholly on the Supreme Lord without personal considerations. So this is a Adhyatma Chetasa, depending on the Supreme Lord. Nirashar means that one has to act on the order of the master, should not accept fruitive results. Nirashar. He is not expecting anything. He has no expectations and he is just doing it because this is what my Lord has said. This is what I have to do because of my duty, my dharma, and that's because of my relationship with the Lord. So, in this consciousness, when we are, we can actually do unimaginable things, things which the mind actually prevents us to do, because my mind is saying, you can't do it. No, 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 don't try. You can't do it. No, not possible. So many negativities will come. But then I remember from my student days, when we were preparing for exams, studying, we may spend so many days studying the same topic and it may take so much time to grasp. But just before the exam, a similar topic or the same topic may not have, even read in the past, but because it needs to be done within a day or within a couple of days, it will actually happen very fast. Why? Because now you're not thinking whether I can do it, not do it, what alternatives I have. Maybe I, can do it at a later time when I'm in a better frame of mind. No, you know that this is what is needed because there is an exam and it needs to be done. And if it's one day before and next day is exam, your mind expands in such a way that you're able to grasp everything. So this is how we have abilities and capabilities which we may ourselves not be aware about. Like Hanumanji. Hanumanji was not aware about his capabilities till Jambavant reminded him, hey, you can do it. It's not a big deal. You can go and bring it. And what consciousness did Hanumanji do? All what was to be done over there in this consciousness. He was completely surrendered to Lord Ram. He was in full consciousness of Lord Ram. So many um, obstacles came when he was crossing the ocean to go to Lanka. So can anybody remember what all obstacles came in the journey of Hanumanji? Who will tell? Let's see. Nobody remembers?
Simhika.
Okay, I'll give you a hint. Three main.
Simhika.
Okay, Simhika, can you tell more about that, Ansh?
She tricked Hanuman into going in. Actually, she told Hanuman to go into her mouth, and then Hanuman went in her mouth and then came out, and he tricked Simhika.
Okay, let's see which one was the first obstacle. Who will tell? First one. So what you mentioned was very nice and we'll come to it. But let's go to something which happened before that. Some
The
different kind
mountain. I
of
forgot his
obstacle it
name.
was.
Sure, sir.
Very good, very good. Ansh, tell more about that.
So basically, the one time,
Menaka Mountain.
yeah, Menaka Mountain. So long time ago, mountains could fly, and basically Indra didn't like that, so he was striking on the mountains, and then Vayudev protected one of the mountains and took him under the sea. So then Menaka Mountain was happy, and he was indebted to Vayudev. So then he came to Hanuman and told him that he could rest on his mountain.
Yes, so that was the point. That first obstacle was the obstacle where it wasn't like challenging, it was more like, hey, let me give you some comfort. Why don't you take a rest? You served so nicely. You traveled such a big journey, such a big ocean. You already traveled quite a bit. It's sunny. Why don't you rest? Um, so this is how our mind works. Our mind gives us always an option to take rest. And what did Hanumanji said? Did Hanumanji stop there? What do you guys say?
No, he touched the mountain, then went.
Yeah, so he respected the emotions and the feelings. He did not disrespect and rejected the service. He respected that he is offering me something. So he accepted it as the mercy of the Lord, touched it, that okay, I rested. For how many? Fraction of a second. And then he left. Did not even spend more than that. So Hanumanji was tested by um, giving him comfort, and he rejected the comfort. So coming out of the comfort zone, coming out of lethargy, coming out of the feverish mentality of the mind, to not be fast, prompt, focused, dedicated. So this is how uh, we can also overcome by seeing the example of Hanumanji and seeing the example of Arjuna, because Arjuna did this in the past and he'll be doing this in the future as well. Okay, any questions, any points? Anybody wants to share anything?
I just wanted to share that this is really, really an important shloka. But there is a contrast. So in the modern research, they say, well, give yourself a little break so that you can rejuvenate to do more. Because you also have to, your energy is dissipating. So pull those and then you can do better. But as I was thinking about this sloka while we were discussing, I was thinking how you're going to navigate that space. So probably you may have a different answer to it, but I was thinking like maybe back of your mind, you should keep thinking about it and taking the inspiration from Hanuman's perspective. You still have to keep thinking in the back of your mind that there's a duty lies ahead of you, although you are taking a break for rejuvenation or for re-energizing, but still the goal is not met yet. So I don't know if you have something
No,
different to say.
that's a very valid point. So we have to see. So in Ramayana also, we can take the example in Ramayana only. When the bridge was being built, so this is when Hanumanji was crossing the the ocean and going to Lanka. But then later on, when the bridge was building, Nal, Neel, they were supervising all this, and everybody was assisting. All living entities there were also helping in building the bridge, not just the Vanaras, but even small animals. They had started to help. The squirrel, the spider, these small living entities, they were also wanting to help, and they were throwing their some rocks or some grains of sand and things like that. And one time, Hanumanji and others, they were throwing big rocks. Hanumanji was practically throwing rocks as big as big mountain, and these small living entities like squirrel or spider, they were just throwing small stones or maybe grains of pebble of sand. Now, when Lord Ram saw, he actually told that nobody should look at these living entities and think, "Arey, what service they are doing? Small grains or small pebbles, they are not going to help in building big bridge." Lord Ram said, everybody has their own capability and ability. Just like Hanumanji is throwing big mountains, he has the capability of doing it. And a small squirrel has the capability of just putting small stones. She is giving her 100%, and Hanumanji is giving his 100%. In eyes of Lord Ram, both are doing 100% service. So they are equal, because they are doing it with this consciousness, loving devotional service. They are surrendering everything to Lord. They are in full consciousness of Lord. They are not desiring profit. They have no claim to proprietorship, and free from that, they are free from lethargy. They are fighting. Now, when we see this and these personalities, it's not that they will not need rest at all, right? It is more of the mindset. The mind will want you to rest in an untimely manner, in an untimely fashion, want to get distracted, want to get you out of where you are actually pressured and focused, because that's mind's nature. Mind wants to come out of that and be relaxed. So don't fall for it. Now, the whole day you worked, now you have to get a rest at night. It's totally fine. Or you worked on some project for a couple of hours and now you want to just take a break for 5 minutes. That's totally fine. So one has to use his intelligence and cannot be and see what is going to bring maximum productivity from you. It's not same for everyone. It is not that everybody has to follow a one particular given way. Everybody is unique, and I will know what is best for me, and you will know what is best for you. And that we have to use in this consciousness, because mind has a tendency that mind will give reasons for us to not focus on this tendency and go inside a comfort zone, not to come out of it. Does it make sense?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Thank
So it's
you.
more of managing the mind than practical application. Practical application will happen once we've been able to manage the mind. If we know how to say no to mind, and we are trained in that way, then automatically we'll know based on our intelligence what is good for our health, what is good for our mind, what is good for our mission. And that way we can use our intelligence, and that will have, which will, this shloka will come later, that will have balance. So Krishna will tell Arjun how to live a balanced life, yuktahara viharasya. So that we will discuss more. But right now, the focus is not to get distracted, not to have a mentality in which one is attacked by this lethargy. Is not so much physical, it's more of mental lethargy. Mind putting barriers, mind saying, "अरे अब बहुत हो गया यार, थोड़ा break ले लेते हैं." Break ले लेते हैं, you have so much work and you just came 5 minutes ago and now you want to take break. That's not good. But at the same time, if you're working the whole day and your body is needing rest, or if you work for 2 3 hours full concentration, then definitely need break. Taking break is, there's no harm in that. So that intelligence will actually know. Many times, we don't have to really answer anybody, but in the heart of heart, we can understand whether this is a good break or not a good break. Some people, they may uh, overdo, and then with doctor's advice or with the help, they will understand, okay, I'm overdoing, I'm not sleeping as much, I'm not, taking enough breaks, and then one has to incorporate that or do some exercises, yoga, or whatever is needed. um, so the people can go both ways, but with help, with assistance, with the medical professional help, one can figure out that if it is something which really is needed to be making changes to, or is this something which doesn't have any medical reason, and I'm just, sometimes mind won't want you to go to work, and people, for various reasons, they feel they want disability from the government, and it is a very difficult problem for them and for others to deal with. So a lot of it is to do with training, and definitely there are genuine people who are going through genuine medical issues, and those have to be respected and not judged. Okay, does it answer your question, Mataji?
Yes, it does. Thank you. Thank you for
Okay,
this perspective.
thank you. Anybody else would like to share any thoughts on this or ask any questions? Okay, so I think we are running short of time. So I think we'll conclude here today. This was an important shloka. I encourage everyone to see if you can recite and memorize this shloka this week. So I will recite this shloka 3 times before we end, and then everybody will know the flow and they can try and memorize. Memorizing these Sanskrit shlokas are very good for memory and for intelligence, and when you get used to reciting, they feel very soothing, calming, and one is very blissful doing it. So let's hear attentively. I'll speak. मयि सर्वाणि कर्माणि सन्न्यस्याध्यात्मचेतसा निराशीर्निर्ममो भूत्वा युध्यस्व विगताज्वरा. मयि सर्वाणि कर्माणि सन्न्यस्याध्यात्मचेतसा निराशीर्निर्ममो भूत्वा युध्यस्व विगताज्वरा. मयि सर्वाणि कर्माणि सन्न्यस्याध्यात्मचेतसा निराशीर्निर्ममो भूत्वा युध्यस्व विगताज्वरा. Any of you would like to recite this by looking at the shloka?
I would like to recite.
Yes.
मयि सर्वाणि कर्माणि सन्न्यस्याध्यात्मचेतसा निराशीर्निर्ममो भूत्वा युध्यस्व विगतज्वरा.
Great. Anybody else?
I can recite.
Yeah, give it.
मयि सर्वाणि कर्माणि सन्न्यास्याध्यात्म चेतसा निराशीर्निर्मनो भूत्वा युध्यस्व विगतज्वरा.
Okay. Who will go next? Who would like to recite? Anybody else wants to give a try?
I can try.
Yes. Go ahead.
मयि सर्वाणि कर्माणि सन्न्यस्याध्यात्मचेतसा निराशीर्निर्ममो भूत्वा युध्यस्व विगताज्वरा.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else wants to go try?
I can try.
Please go ahead.
मयि सर्वाणि कर्माणि सन्न्यास्याध्यात्मचेतसा निर्यासर्निर्ममो भूत्वा युध्यस्व विगतज्वरा.
Very nice. Great.
Jwara.
That's very good.
Yeah, the jwara. Okay.
Okay.
Thank
All right, I think we will end here. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining and participating. Very grateful to all of you. We'll do our Hindi